Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Mihalik. I'm the Deputy City Manager, and with me is Jackie Kozak-Teal, our Chief Sustainability Officer. Let's hear for Jackie. What a great crowd, and what a great testament to Innovate Fort Collins. What is it about? It's about innovation and passion, and you just showed me right now that we have the best possible crowd we could tonight. So thank you all very much for being here. Really excited about it. For those of you who don't know, the Innovate Fort Collins Challenge has been funded not only this year, but next year by City Council for an opportunity for everybody in the community to potentially put together great ideas and innovative projects so we can meet our aggressive climate action goals. So let's hear it for City Council. As I think about it, what we're doing tonight is one of the best examples that I can think of a city as a platform. For those of you who aren't familiar with that language, the city is indeed a platform, especially here in Fort Collins. What does that mean? It's about sharing things. It's about sharing everything in the community. The city of Fort Collins provides power, right? But we all share it, don't we? We power our businesses. We power our homes, don't we? We provide water. We provide sewer. Water is needed to brew some of the best beer in the country, isn't it? Absolutely. Yeah, that's here, right. There you go. And roads. If you think about roads, we may build them and we bond them and we tax them and we share the funding together. But what do roads really do? They provide us with mobility. They provide us with tourism. They even provide us with the shared economy like Uber and Lyft. And how exciting is that? And next year, very likely we'll be working together to provide a broadband facility in the city of Fort Collins as well. So, if we're a city as a platform and we share infrastructure, shouldn't we also share the brilliant thoughts and minds and ideas and innovation of everybody in this community as well? We should, and that's what Innovate Fort Collins is all about. The city is a platform, not in terms of just infrastructure, but brilliant ideas, and tonight, you're going to hear so many of those brilliant ideas. So let's get excited about city as a platform. So let's get started, because this is the first time. I know you're very energetic about it. And let me introduce to you some folks that you'll want to see. First of all, our mayor, Mayor Wade Troxel, is here. Former mayor and current council member Ray Martinez is here. And keeping an eye on us in the back is Councilmember Bob Overbeck. Hey, Bob. And my boss, City Manager Darren Atterbury, is here as well. So we're all very passionate about reaching our climate goals, and let me stress to you that each and every one of you in this room and every business in our community has been doing everything they can to reach our goals as well. We're reducing energy. We're recycling more. We're reducing our trips, and that's really what it's all about. We have to band together as a community if we're going to reach our goals. I think we all know that we have one of the most aggressive climate action plans in the United States, and by 2050, I'm confident with everybody's help that we're going to meet our goal to be completely carbon neutral. And guess what? Guess who has the big X on her back to get the job done? It's Jackie Kozak-Teal. So let's honor Jackie with a little bit of a chant for Jackie. Jackie, 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 Jackie Kozak-Teal.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm going to need your guys' help for reaching those goals, and I'm so excited to hear from our amazing finalists tonight that are going to be part of the solutions to get us there. First, I want to thank all of you. We've all just been so happy to see the bustling lobby, and now all of us in here together. Thank you for sharing your summer evening with us and just coming during your busy schedule to spend some time to hear these creative ideas and work together as a community towards these shared goals. So I just want to tell you a couple cool things about tonight. We had 58 proposals from our community for this first round of Innovate Fort Collins, and it totaled $5.5 million in requests. And so I was just telling Councilman Overbeck, there is no shortage of amazing ideas in this community, and we were truly astounded by the response that we got. And I think we realized we're onto something here. The city, as Jeff mentioned, City Council approved a 2-year budget recently, so we have $400,000 over the next 2 years. This is our phase 1, our first year. We're going to learn through this pilot. You all are kind of learning as we go here together, and then we're going to do it again next year. And we're working with partners to see if we can grow that pot, since we know there's a lot of interest in this. I also just want to say there was 58 total proposals that we got, and I want to thank everyone who submitted a proposal. It was just such high quality, high caliber ideas from our community, and we really appreciate everyone that put forward ideas, and we welcome people to continue submitting next year as well. And each proposal was reviewed very carefully by various subject matter experts. And we want to also honor our finalists tonight and give them a special round of applause, because they're going to be pitching their ideas to you tonight. And I really want to emphasize, it was a hard decision to get down to our finalists, and really our finalists that you'll hear from tonight stood out because they had an amazing combination of 3 things. 1, they directly are working towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions, which we've got to get to 20% reductions by 2020, 80% by 2030, and as Jeff said, by 2050, we're going to be a carbon neutral Fort Collins. So that's the one thing. The other combination, they're super innovative, and you'll hear that tonight. I mean, the fabric of our community is around invention, and these are perfect representatives of just how creative we are as a community. And then lastly, they all are taking a triple bottom line approach. And as the Chief Sustainability Officer of Fort Collins, that is one of my very favorite things about this community, is that we're always thinking about the triple bottom line. How can we as a community support our economic health, our environmental health, and our social health towards these different goals? And so you'll be hearing how they've woven those things together to really cool ideas. So the other job I have, besides making sure that we hit carbon neutrality, is to give you some logistics for tonight. So one thing for you to know, we have judges, and I'll be introducing them. The judging for tonight makes up 15% of the overall score for these finalists. We'll be compiling the scores from the judges tonight and add them into our whole scoring matrix, and then the winners are going to be announced on August 18th. So stay tuned. We'll, of course, be doing a big splash to announce. And the last thing that is, has anybody ever used our clicker technology at community meetings? Raise your hand. We often hear that people really like using that, and we're going to employ it tonight so that we can do an Audience Choice Award. So this is like, I don't know if Dancing with Stars does that, but one of those types, or America's Got Talent. I know there's shows like that we get to do an Audience Choice Award, so we're going to be doing that. So really pay attention to the different ideas tonight, because you're going to get to vote on which one you think was the best, and the winner is going to get 5 bonus points towards their overall 210 total possible points. So you'll be kind of part of this process as well. So we're really glad you're here tonight. So with that, I want to introduce other folks that are really key players in tonight, which is our judges, and I'm just so thankful to them for taking the time to play this role. When I call out your name, if you could raise your hand so folks know who our judges are. First we have John Bartholow. There's John. And then next we have Dana Villeneuve. There's Dana. York. Kurt Lyons. Steve Kenneman. There's Steve. Hunter Buffington. Katie Coe. Chris Wood. And Marge Moore. Let's hear it for our awesome judges.
Jackie, the judges aren't scoring us, are they?
I think I already saw some writing down that looked a bit critical of your opening.
Okay. I tried.
There's going to be an Audience Choice Award on the MCs, so.
We know who's going to win that.
With that, I'm going to introduce someone in our community that needs no introduction. Fort Collins, born and bred. Our mayor, Wade Troxel, who's just been such a champion, not only of our climate goals, but really of just inviting the creativity from our community to work together towards reaching these goals. And so with that, Mayor Wade Troxel.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you all for being here tonight. What a great night. I think this speaks exactly what Fort Collins is all about. 2 years ago, opened the exhibit at the Smithsonian for the place of invention, and Fort Collins is one of 6 cities as a place of invention. And what better way to solve very difficult, vexing kind of problems, actually problems that are really ill-defined. You know, they're grand and it's difficult to define them. And really what we're doing is looking to our community for solutions. It's not, and that's where the city as a platform comes into play, because it's not what happens on Tuesday night at City Council or even what happens within excellent city staff. It's really looking for solutions in our community and beyond that benefits our community. And not only benefiting our community, but benefiting other cities and making an impact, literally a global impact. And to me, that's always been what Fort Collins has been about. You know, somebody has described Fort Collins as punching above its weight. Well, we do that, and we're still a great place to live and friendly and wonderful place to raise our kids and to start a business and just to enjoy each other's company and to have a great beer. So we're just a wonderful community in so many different sorts of ways. And to me, that's what the city as a platform is. It really enables our community, our citizens, to be co-creators in our community to make it a better community. And so what this Innovation Challenge does is encourage our community, our businesses, our organizations to help provide solutions for our 2020 goals. And that's where I think this flips the model from, the city knows best to really the community can help us reach our stretch goals. And as such, we can't do it alone. And with that, we've described this as being we have a $10 problem and we have $1. How do you solve it? Well, we're leveraging that $1 into $10. And it's through innovation, it's through our collaboration, through partnerships, it's through better solutions than what we even understand today. So what we're doing is investing in a leverage mechanism to provide practical solutions that make sense for Fort Collins. And to me, that's really where the rubber meets the road. And that's a differentiator for our community. It's not grandstanding, it's actually being on the field and making a difference. And so what we do as a community, and one of the ways I describe our community is as a university community. We're high in arts and culture. We're high in patents per capita. We're high in new business startups per capita. And this is across the nation. And so it's really leveraging that university community aspect in a way that, and it also brings in another aspect. It brings in collaboration. Because you can't innovate alone. You innovate through collaboration. And the place of invention at the Smithsonian, it really talks about Fort Collins as being about collaboration. And so that's an element that's critical to this. So that's not doing it in isolation. That's really working together towards solutions and really supporting our economy to ensure that businesses and organizations take advantage of emerging opportunities. And so I think that's at the heart of what the Innovation Challenge is all about. So to our community, this makes fiscal, social, and environmental sense for all of us to do. It helps us to look to increasing our energy efficiency for cost savings. It helps us to look to diversifying our energy portfolio for resilience. It helps us to look for more distributed and integrated energy resources than the model that has served us well since the 1930s. But as we transition, it's a new model, and we'll be a leader as a part of that. It helps us to improve our air and water quality for our kids and family. And all these things interplay together. It helps us to reduce our waste, but not just reducing our waste, but also capitalizing on valuable discarded resources in a circular economy. We're thinking about using our waste in its highest and best use, and energy is one of those. And so we should be looking to these system solutions that integrate things in our community in a way where it's self-sustaining into the future. And we're also looking to expand our multimodal systems and transportation options for our community, for our workforce, and for all those that need to live, work, and play within our community. So to me, the Innovation Challenge really speaks directly to what this community is all about. And I'd just like to thank all the applications that came in. I think that speaks to a lot of great ideas are out there. It also speaks to, I think, the competition, and that's always a good thing. And tonight, I look forward to the competition and the contestants bringing forward their best game and presenting it, and having the audience be active participants in it. And so, wish you all the best, and thank you all. And I'm so proud of Fort Collins and honored to serve as your mayor. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mayor. While I'm just transitioning here, I will, speaking of transition, and call up Transition Fort Collins to start getting ready for their pitch. And I'll just give a little bit of, I think you're going to get ready over here. Come on up for our first pitch. And before we start with our first pitch, I also just wanted to give a little bit of context for our judges too. Tonight is just one of many nights that they serve our community, and I really wanted to honor that because every judge on the panel is either a member of our Community Advisory Committee for the Climate Action Plan, and they meet for several hours, 4 times a year, and really dig in to issues with bringing various different perspectives from our community, whether they're from a business or an education institution or from an environmental group. They have lots of different viewpoints, kind of bringing together what are those sweet spot triple bottom line solutions for our community. And we also have members of our boards and commissions, which we know are other wonderful ways that people serve in our community. So I just want to really thank again the judges. They already serve our community, and thanks for doing another one tonight. And before we start with our first pitch too, I just want to thank the mayor again and all of City Council. Our City Council, one thing that we talk about a lot when we share with other cities that are working on this is that we have a City Council that unanimously adopted these goals and have just really, I think, worked with our community and worked with us to identify those practical solutions and leveraging the investments that the city makes, not only with the creativity of our community, but private sector dollars. And so just thanks again for the mayor for speaking and all the City Council folks that are here and continue to support us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first pitch, Transition Fort Collins.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Anne Marie Marlene, and I'm here representing Transition Fort Collins. We all know that we're here to look at things and look at ways that we can support the city's climate action plan, and we're very fortunate to live in a community where this is available. So our program and our proposal is called the Green Renters Program. Long history, but in short, we found out from Fort Collins Utilities that 40 to 45% in people in Fort Collins are renters. And when we saw that, we were shocked. And we know that the city has lots of great initiatives. They have ClimateWise for businesses, and they have a plethora of programs for people who own homes, but the city is yet to tap into the rental community in Fort Collins. And I'm afraid that if we leave out the renters in Fort Collins, that our climate action goals are going to be a little bit more difficult to reach. So if we look at 40 to 45% of the population, that's about 66,000 people. And, you know, that's a pretty big number, but we said if we could just work with 10% of that population, that, you know, we did these statistics and we looked at each other and said it can't be, but, you know, 23 million pounds of CO2 equivalents, which works out to over 10,000 metric tons over time. And of course, we can't do this all at once, but we still have a little time to work. But so just looking with some pretty conservative estimates that we could really impact the climate action plan. And besides working with renters directly in the homes that they rent and the community they live in, we want to start a culture of renters culture. And instead of focusing on homeowners and businesses, that we can look at a pretty tough population. In being a college town, I'm sure this is why this number is so high. So we call our our group Transition Fort Collins because we have a history with an organization called Transition Towns, which was started in the UK in 2006, and the US picked it up in 2007. And I believe that Boulder was the first town in the US to pick up this program, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a moment. We started Transition Fort Collins in 2016. Really interesting. I teach at CSU and had a student give a speech on what transition towns were. I said, wait, hold on. Why isn't Fort Collins a transition town? Because we're doing all those great things. And transition basically is transitioning from fossil fuels to alternative energies. And it looks at community organizing and community resiliency for whatever may hit us in the future. So kudos to CSU students for bringing these things to a bigger light. Last spring, we did a citywide training we call Transition Streets, which is showing homeowners how to become more energy efficient and less consumeristic. And that was an 8-week program. And one of our participants, again, another CSU student, Maggie Gilman, said, well, this is all great for homeowners, but I'm a renter, and I have no control over my energy usage and how efficient the place that I live in is. So we said, well, let's look at those numbers, and that's where we came up with the 40 to 45%. So we proposed an experimental course at CSU, and it got accepted just recently, GES 280. It's going to be an 8-week, 1-credit course. The first session of 4 weeks will be about educating the students about climate change and how, as renters, they can mitigate that. And there is also a 4-week session on them coming up with yet more innovative ideas to help renters save money on energy and other consumerist issues. So we're really excited. You know, if you think people in Fort Collins had good ideas, you know, CSU students are going to be great. So we've got that on the books, and we're going to start with that. And so you may say, well, of course, at CSU is not going to hit many people, but we've made other connections with the city utilities, the green leasing program, and the neighborhood connections program, which we've all been a part of for the past year. And so absolutely, the triple bottom line, we're helping people who cannot become homeowners, students with lots of debt, perhaps, a diverse population. We want everyone to be a part of the Climate Action Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. What a wonderful presentation. I'm going to kick it over and see if there's any questions from our judges.
Thanks so much, Jeff. First question up is from Katie Coe, one of our Youth Advisory Board members.
Hello. So, what economic benefit would this have in more detail?
Well, it's going to help people who usually don't have a part in saving energy. And those are people, again, who rent and don't have access to a lot of money. They may be students with lots of student debt. So obviously, when we do good things for the environment, we do good things for people, that actually helps the local economic situation. So it's just helping disenfranchised groups.
Our next question is from Hunter Buffington, who serves on our Community Advisory Committee.
Thank you for taking the time to present your ideas tonight. I would really like to hear if you could name 1 or maybe 3 strategies that you have. It sounds like this is mainly an educational component, so I'd just like to hear a little bit about how.
Okay. One strategy we have is to partner with the city through utilities and green leasing. And we know the green leasing program is going to help residents, renters, connect with their landlords. And so instead of right now the landlords can't get access to student utility bills and students can't get access to landlords. So that's going to foster some communication to say, hey, my heat's been at 80 all winter and I'm freezing, and the landlord and the renter can work well together. Another strategy is to work with rental management companies who have lots of access to renters to give them information about how students can be and renters can be more energy efficient. And so they can disseminate information and say if there's an apartment complex who's interested in going through our curriculum with us about how to save energy when you don't have a lot of control, you can't put insulation in the ceilings and such like that, that's a point of contact that we think would yield some great results. And actually our third idea is to work through the neighborhood services and the neighborhood connections group we've all been a part of for a year to go out to neighborhoods and say this is the transition curriculum and to give them access to city resources as green leasing becomes a more part of our culture. And to give them direct education about energy savings and how that can help the city reach their climate action goals.
Great. Our next question is from York, who serves on the Transportation Board.
Yeah, perhaps I missed it, but what was your ask on there? What was the amount?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hate dealing with money, so $5,000 was our ask.
Okay, I believe that's all the questions we have from the judges. Oh, wait, whoop. Marge on the Energy Board.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, as the groups that you've been working with, have you been able to monetize some of the savings or come up with some kind of scaling so that you could see how this education might translate into the pounds that we're talking about trying to save too?
Sure. We haven't done any monetary calculations, but definitely the scaling is going to happen through student groups at CSU, so the students who take the course can directly work with the Student Sustainability Center and SOJUS, so on and so forth. And we also think that there's an opportunity for scaling through our neighborhood connections and neighborhood groups who want to be educated. There's just a boatload of people out there who are not getting hit by the wonderful city programs that we have by homeowners, but we have connections with utilities that they're willing to help us with city staff if they need information. Yeah, that's sort of our next step, and I'm really glad to hear that City Council has given the program money for next year, because we think that this course is going to go well and our connections with Neighborhood Connections is going to go well, and then we're going to sit back and say, okay, that works. How can we dig deeper? How can we reach more people? How can this be a new part of Fort Collins culture? Much like, recycling's been around in Fort Collins for a long time, but not recycling for people in multi-unit complexes. The city's taken care of that. They're going to go there. And we want to take energy savings and consumerism to the next level next year, but not right now. One thing at a time.
All right, that's all the time we have for questions. I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay, very much. We could have our next group come up and get ready. That would be fantastic. So let's give one more round of applause for Anne-Marie and CSU. So the next presentation is by the Poudre School District, and it's really cool, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say, because it's a program that's aimed at one of our big goals, and that is our Road to Zero Waste, specifically composting. So let's hear what they have to say.
Hi, I'm Trudy Trimbath. I'm the Energy and Sustainability Manager with Poudre School District. I want to thank the City of Fort Collins for having us here and our panel of judges for listening to our presentation. Our concept is pretty simple. We want to get food waste out of the landfill. We have been doing composting for over 10 years at Poudre School District. About a year ago, a lot of things changed in northern Colorado with infrastructure and vendors, and not only did our prices triple, but it kind of became really hard to compost. And so we decided as a district we needed to start looking at something internally that would be more sustainable and cost effective. And we came up with two options. The first one is in-vessel aerobic composting, and basically what you do is you take the food waste, you put it in the machine, it works with heat, agitation, and microbes, and it turns the food waste into compost. Then we could take that compost, combine it with soil, and use it for top dressing our turf fields. Option 2 was we looked at a biodigester, and it does the same thing. It takes the food waste, it uses microbes, and then it actually turns it into wastewater that could go to the POTW. So when we were looking at our options, from a marketing standpoint, there were a couple things we were looking at. Number one, we were composting about 212 tons per year of food waste. We wanted something that could handle our low day-to-day volumes, because what we were finding is trying to collect food waste for over a year or for over a week at a time, sometimes we got maggots and other pest issues, and that's just not real conducive to a good school environment. And so we wanted something that would handle the waste in a quick cycle time, something that we could interrupt that cycle time frequently, and also we wanted something that we could use for the rest of the community. Maybe other businesses, institutions could also use the same technology that we were looking at. We looked at the Road to Zero Waste, and a couple things in there were part of our decision process, and that was that it was really encouraging pilot programs and also small scale on-site composting activities. We also wanted something sustainable, self-sustaining, not dependent on a specific staff member. Educational needs, what we found when we quit composting and sending the compost or the food waste to the landfill was we had a gap in our educational needs. So we have students that grow gardens, we take that food and put it on our salad bars in our cafeteria, but then when we get done with that food and there's waste left over, we really didn't have a way to finish that life cycle process. And this technology we could really apply from school to school. And we wanted something that was easy to implement. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get a biodigester and about 3 to 4 months to get the composting machine. So we could implement it in less than a year. So risks and risk management. We've talked about kind of the personnel aspect already. One of the things we looked at is if we bring in a new technology, what kind of training do we need for our students? And we really feel the processes are similar to what we were already doing. So we've got training materials, we've got posters, students have already had experience in training each other. We did find out we would have to apply for, if we use the composting machine, we do have to get a permit with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. Things we looked at with physical space, while the biodigester is a little bit cheaper, we found there were issues with that in some of our older schools, and that not only does it have to be attached to a specific drain, but it also requires electricity, and sometimes we just don't have the physical space in our cafeterias for that. That's why the composting machine was a good option. That piece of equipment can actually be outside in a portable unit and only requires power, so it doesn't require any kind of water use with it. Then we had to look at what are we implementing and are we creating more of a problem? So we actually went and saw the composting machine down at Johnson & Wales University, talked to the staff there, very low maintenance. I've talked to several schools on the East Coast about the biodigester, and we found that there's very little maintenance with that as well. The economic impact, we really feel that the product that we're introducing, other businesses within northern Colorado could use. It was $9 million was estimated to create a regional composting facility, so you could buy 450 biodigesters or 250 composting machines for that. From the social aspect, it aligns with the Road to 2020 goals, access by all students at all schools, and it aligns with our current sustainability management plan. From an environmental standpoint, no methane is generated from either one of these processes. We worked with GSI to determine that we can save 150 metric tons from not transporting the waste to an off-site treatment facility, and we would reduce 177 metric tons from landfill emissions. So, what are we asking for? We're asking for $40,000. We would either use it to purchase one in-vessel composter or 2 of the biodigesters.
So now we have a few moments for some questions from our judges. Judges, give you a moment to breathe. Yep. York?
So you mentioned a limited number of units. Do you have specific locations where they would start out at?
We would probably start out in our middle schools because that's where the focus of the curriculum is currently, and then kind of move to elementary schools so that we can start the process at the younger ages. So as the students move through, elementary school, middle school, high school, all this just becomes second nature to them.
Question from Hunter?
Hi, Trudy. Thank you. Can I get a little clarity on the metric reductions? Because you said that this was a life cycle process. The implementation was going to take 1 year. So is there a difference between which option you guys choose? And is that also the reduction for just the schools that have those two? Or is that an anticipated long-term reduction? Can you just clarify that?
That's good. So the first question, the reduction would be based on what our previous, again, we've generated about 212 tons of compost a year. So those reductions would be based on that amount from previous implementation. Then what was the other question?
I was just wondering, so is that over 1 year? Is that what you said?
Yes, that is a 1 year total, and we could fully implement either piece of equipment in less than a year, even with the lead times to get the equipment.
Thank you. What do you think is the most creative thing that you're going to do?
I think the most creative part of this is having the on-site composting so that the students can actually see the process with a full life cycle. So they're going to plant the seeds, they're going to grow the vegetables, they're going to actually eat the vegetables, and then they're going to be able to see how we deal with, food that rots or that we can't use again or that the students don't eat. So I think it's just the educational impact to the students. And then the other big part of that is if we can get this equipment in and other people can see it, because that's the really hard part that we found was when you look at new technologies like this, it's hard to find them locally that other companies can visit and look at and see the application to their situation.
Okay, thanks, John. And John serves on our Natural Resources Advisory Board. Next up is Kurt, who serves on our Affordable Housing Board.
Thank you for your presentation. You'd mentioned using the compost for your turf. I was curious if you would be able to use it back growing vegetables to put it back in the life cycle.
We probably would not use it back on the vegetables. There's a lot of agricultural regulations related to school food waste, and just to kind of stay out of that, we feel the best application is just to apply it to help save water with irrigation by just using it for top dressing our turf fields.
Okay, judges, we might have time for one more question. Anybody else? Yeah, Katie?
Hello, thank you for your presentation. I'm actually a Kennard alum, and so I was.
Kennard cares.
Yeah, I was in that picture. Yeah. I was wondering how this would affect the learning process of composting, because I know as seeing the entire composting process with all the worms, that was really beneficial for me. How would this compare to the process or the experience that I had?
So I think if we purchase the portable in-vessel composting machine, that's very similar to the worm technology. The difference is the worm technology can't really handle the total output volumes that we have, and so this would kind of either be a supplement to that or actually replace that technology and yet handle the volumes that we're talking about from each school's generation.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, judges. And turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Trudy. So cool we have an alum on the judging panel, too. It's just, I think, speaks to, the connections in our community to this work. If Erica and Joy want to come up. So our next pitch is from Colorado State University, another educational grounded work. And they're going to be talking about one of the hardest nuts to crack in reducing greenhouse gas emissions, which is around transportation. And so they'll be giving us some great ideas around multimodal. With that, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, let me set the scene for you. It's another busy day on the CSU campus, and these two transportation professionals are shooting the breeze.
Hey, Erica. How are things at Parking and Transportation Services?
Pretty good, Joy. How are things in the CSU Police Department?
Well, they're pretty good, too. But I have to tell you, it happened again. I had a student come to the front desk of the police department and actually ask for mandatory transportation education on how to actually navigate Fort Collins. It seems a lot of students come in not knowing how to use biking, transit, or walking as alternative transportation forms. It's almost like they come here with their car and have no idea. Like it's a foreign concept to use anything else.
I know what you mean. When I present to students at orientation, I try to encourage them not to bring their cars to campus because of reduced parking availability and increased traffic congestion. And you know, I think I read the other day in the City of Fort Collins Climate Action Plan that transportation makes up 25% of our community's carbon emissions.
That is so much. If only there was a way that we could influence students' behavior so that they would choose sustainable transportation.
You know what, Joy? Let's give them what they want. Let's educate every single one of the 5,000 students that we see each year. We can make an online module that teaches them everything they need to know about our transportation culture and how to use it safely and legally.
Online. I like that. It's efficient. It can reach a lot of people in the comfort of their own home. But seriously, transportation education is boring. How are we going to convince and inspire 5,000 people to want to take this?
Well, that's easy. We'll make it mandatory, and we'll make it fun.
All right, well, mandatory. CSU already has 2 mandatory online courses, one about sexual assault, the other about alcohol awareness, and the stats say that this really does affect students' behavior. But how are we going to make it fun?
Well, remember when we did those focus groups where we asked students how they like to learn online?
Yeah.
Well, basically they said they like humor, they like to play games, and they like to compete against each other. So let's create a module that does those things.
Like Pac-Man.
Oh, Joy. Pac-Man is so 1980s. We can do way better than that. Let's create a game where students can compete against each other by earning points for making good transportation choices. We can incorporate motion graphic videos where students can learn how to use our transit system and how to use hand signals on their bike, and we can even incorporate cool drone footage that shows how to navigate our local infrastructure.
Okay, that does sound pretty cool. And you know what's neat? We could use this in Fort Collins, the broader community, and teach people with it, as well as share it with other universities eventually. But how much do you think something like this would cost?
Well, let's see here. If we wanted to do all the videos and a pilot of the projects, it would be about $45,000. But if we wanted to do a fully gamified transportation module that would be the first of its kind in the country, then that's going to be $209,550. But that would allow us to influence student behavior enough that over the course of 5 years, we could reduce vehicle miles traveled by over 22 million. Do you know what that means, Joy? That's like taking 1,860 cars off the road for an entire year.
Wow, that would truly make a difference. But you know what I personally love about this? There is a perception in our community that CSU students are unsafe road users, scofflaws. Well, this would be a way for us to creatively teach them the laws before they even come to our community. Could you imagine CSU students being the ones that set the example out there? Oh, how the perception would change. And you know there'd be less crashes. This is an economic, social, and what's the other one? Environmental benefits. So there you go.
That's right, Joy. And there are even more potential economic benefits to this. So with less cars on the road, both CSU and the city could save money on things like building new parking and roadway maintenance. Plus, with less congestion, that means less time sitting in traffic. And who wouldn't love that?
Okay, well, this is clearly a benefit to both the university and the city as a whole. So where are we going to come up with the money to make this happen?
Well, the city of Fort Collins is doing this great challenge called Innovate Fort Collins, and I think this would be the perfect project to be funded by that. We'd be addressing transportation emissions, which accounts for 25% of our community's carbon footprint. And over 5 years, we could reach at least or as many as 25,000 people at a cost of just $8.38 per person. That's a small investment for a big impact.
Only $8.38 per person. That's a bargain. Let's do it. Let's create the sustainable culture we want in our town.
Let's do it. Okay, everybody. On 3, go Rams. 1, 2, 3,
go Rams! Woo! Thank you.
High five, girl.
All right,
audience, and our judges. How are you going to compete with that? What questions do we have for these presenters tonight? Dana. Dana serves on our Community Advisory Committee.
Thank you guys for your very energetic and entertaining presentation. How did you go about estimating the 22.5 million? So yeah, 22.5 million vehicle miles traveled.
Vehicle miles traveled. Yeah, so we do a statistically significant survey of our students' travel behavior every year. And so that is calculated if we're looking at, we figure over 5 years we'll be able to have reached the whole, pretty much the whole student body population. So that's kind of our goal period. And that's assuming that we can change, if we look at 11% of our total student trips, moving them from being single occupant vehicle trips into either transit or biking trips.
All right, question from York and then John.
So you mentioned the 838 per student, but you also mentioned two other numbers about either doing the pilot project or the full-blown one. Which one is that representing?
That's the larger figure.
Yes, that would be for the larger figure, that full gamified program.
Are there other universities that have done anything similar to this? No.
We would be innovative if we did this.
Yeah, and you know, it would be really exciting, and actually that's something that we'd be really mindful as we're developing this to make it something that other universities could use as a model for their own for their own locations, and also for the Fort Collins community and other groups that might want to use it that aren't universities.
All right, Marge Moore from the Energy Board, and then Chris Wood from the Air Quality Board.
Hi, thank you. Great presentation as well. Do you have an interim or in-between dollar amount that you could work with? Just wondering if there's a program that you thought about for some number in between the two that you gave us.
Not necessarily in between. No, the smaller number would be what we could work with to make kind of a skeleton, and then the larger number would be like the full-blown program, the full-blown module. So the 45 figure is more at the skeleton of the very minimal of what we could create. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I guess I had a similar question. Can you elaborate a little bit more about what the differences are between the two proposals, the 45 versus the 209,000?
Sure. So the 45,000 would include developing the two types of videos that I mentioned, the motion graphic videos and also the drone footage that would show the local infrastructure. And also it would be utilizing an existing online learning platform that we have at CSU. So the higher number, though, would be actually working with a company to develop a one-of-a-kind gamified platform. So really, that additional funding is going into being able to do the research and really understand how we can craft the module so that people will get excited about using it and use it as a game.
All right, question from Steve, who serves on our Community Advisory Committee.
Hi, thank you. Great presentation. How about a timeline? When are you hoping to see this go live?
So what we would love to see is to be able to at least get a pilot group going for the incoming students for next academic year, so in about a year. So we would hope to show this module to students when, just as they're coming to campus or right before they come to campus, so they're sort of prepared as they're getting here and know kind of what they need to do. And thankfully, we know we can flip the switch on this pretty quickly because we have a lot of support already lined up at CSU, and even with our student government, the Associated Students of CSU, we actually have our president and vice president here in the audience too. So we have a lot of support and people who are ready to go and get going on the project.
All right, judges, we have time for one more question. Do we have any additional questions for these presenters? Great. Thank you so much, CSU.
Thank you.
See, we told you we were going to have fun tonight. Let's hear it for our first three pitches. think a few of our speakers have mentioned that we're a place that can grow great food and also make great beer. So we are going to take a quick break to help refuel our energy so that we can come back ready to hear some more great ideas.
All right, people, we're back. Do we have enough energy still in the room? Let me hear you. One more time. We are going to invite our next presenter to the podium. I got to admit to you, this presentation is a little bit buggy. It's by Insecticycle. So yeah, we're really excited about it. It is actually talking about waste from cradle to cradle. So give me your undivided attention.
Good evening, members of the audience, as well as the judges panel, and thank you for your involvement with the Innovate Fort Collins Challenge. My name is Michael Lawley, and I've been working with my business partner, Stang, to bring to you all a fascinating and exciting new innovative approach to recycling food waste that uses insects. Now, to show you exactly what I mean by this, here's an example of this technology in action, making a sandwich disappear. This is not science fiction. This is not a horror film. This is a feeding frenzy of thousands of individual larvae swarming and devouring this sandwich without a trace. Now, the truly scary situation is the one we see locally with our food waste distribution methods. Many restaurants and businesses and providers of food waste are faced with a limited budget and limited options when it comes to responsible handling of this material. Many times, perfectly good food ends up in the trash and goes to the landfill. And this practice creates several negative impacts on our community, and these problems can all be solved by simply removing the organic waste component from our dumpsters, from the trash, and from the landfill. The solution we propose to do this with is with a beneficial insect called the black soldier fly. These insects are perfectly suited for a large-scale industrial waste processing task, and their feeding frenzy activity is what makes them so unique. As a company, we specialize in managing this feeding frenzy in a fully automated and controllable process that operates 24/7 without interruption. This patent-pending system will operate to function and reduce the volume of waste by up to 90%, at the same time conserving the entire nutritional contents of that waste by transferring it into the body of this larva. These insects automatically harvest and are easily processed to form a protein powder, which is highly nutritious, highly energetic, and is approved for commercial use in commercial fish feed for species such as trout and salmon. The goal for this product being developed in Colorado is to support our local fisheries and increase the sustainable production of aquaculture here in this state. In 3 to 5 years, the company plans to be operating in a large warehouse which serves as the central processing hub to several smaller sites that are located throughout the community. These sites will act as natural trash compactors, which reduce the volume of waste at its site of origin, further reducing greenhouse gas emissions from vehicle emissions, as well as conserving the methane from the food waste. To help us on this goal, we're asking for $40,000 to fund the first year of operation of a pilot scale facility. This facility will prove to be a crucial step in developing our process and scaling it up effectively, where we can gain new clients, create viable end products that can support the production of this business, and serve the community as best we can. When this project is completed, we'll have reduced the greenhouse emissions from food waste as well as vehicle emissions for transporting this material. In addition to those community-wide benefits, we expect to deliver the following tangible benefits to each individual of this community on their everyday lives, whether that's a business, a consumer, or a producer here locally in town. We know that Fort Collins is the place we want to be to start this venture due to its aggressive climate action goals, combined with our technological expertise in a new global industry. We can give Fort Collins one more reason to give people to come visit and put us on the map. That's all the time I have, and I'll open it up for questions now. Thank you.
All right, first question is up from Katie.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. So obviously these larvae will go through cellular respiration, and I know that especially in like agriculture, agriculture is responsible for a lot of CO2 emissions. So how will this project compare to the current CO2 emissions we have just from all of the respiration going on in the larvae?
It's viewed as a way to offset the methane emissions that would occur if that food waste was just left to decompose in nature. Methane is 20 times more potent than CO2 as a greenhouse gas, so this is an effective way to contain that carbon and use it for another purpose.
Chris, and then we'll move over to Kurt.
So can you talk about the differences between this and composting and biodigestion?
Sure. This is seen as a higher value added process because the nutritional value of the waste is conserved. And other forms of composting where it's more of a waste to energy conversion or you're just putting it back into the soil, we're creating a viable food product out of this that can go back into the food chain. So theoretically that value is never lost. It's still being used and it can continue indefinitely like that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I had a question about the black soldier fly. Is that a native species? If it's not, is there a possibility it could become an invasive problem?
It's not considered an invasive species at all. It doesn't pose any risk to human activity. They're not a known vector of any diseases. They're naturally occurring in any well-established compost pile. You can find them doing their thing naturally around here.
Next question is from Hunter.
Thank you. I think that it's a creative and innovative solution, but I would like to hear how the economic benefits are going to come back to the community and to Fort Collins.
Well, the main goal we want to do is offer businesses a more affordable way to recycle their waste. I mean, the landfill is so close and so cheap that most of them just see that as the most practical way to get rid of it. We want to compete with that model and say we can give you an affordable waste recycling service because we're taking that material and using it for profit so that our business doesn't have to rely so much on this collection and waste reduction aspect to stay profitable.
And next question is from York, and then we'll go down to Marge.
So real quick, I know with a lot of recycling we have problems with contamination. How does your process deal with contamination?
Any contaminants from foodborne pathogens or illnesses are handled at the end with the harvesting step. There's an oven drying kill step which reduces any risks like that. To offset any chemical hazards like pesticides or heavy metals, we're looking very closely at the waste and where it's originating from. So most of what we're dealing with is already considered food grade material. And our process accesses that material faster than the nutritional value is lost. So anything that's already been established as food grade is considered to be safe from the chemical hazards as well.
Hi, thank you. Have you calculated an amount of metric tons that you are considering will be, I guess, removed from the landfill, or how the greenhouse gas impact is going to show up?
Sure. So the pilot operation, the impact is scaling up to process 1 barrel of waste per day, 155-gallon barrel of waste per day. From that module that we can study and learn, we can predict how it would look as a 5-barrel, 10-barrel, 100-barrel system and learn how we can scale that up effectively to make a larger impact. That's more of where our 3 to 5 year plan will come into play with a more community-wide approach. So this pilot step is really just the first step in learning how to effectively serve our community with the technology.
We have time for one more question. Any softballs, like about cellular respiration, Katie? What an amazing question for a recent grad. I love it. Dana.
Can you share a little bit more about conversations that you've had with the fisheries and how the local fisheries could specifically use this protein source?
Sure. Well, the statewide hatcheries, they get a pretty big contract from large manufacturers. They go through a bidding process every year to get that contract filled. So that's not really our first market to go towards, but we want to come at this with a more boutique approach and put this protein into something that we can keep on a small scale and use with hobbyists. Aquaponics is a very new industry here in Colorado that people are very excited about. And they want to use alternative forms of protein in that product so that their fish, their vegetables, everything that's coming out of that system, they're controlling those inputs the way they want them to be. So that's where we want to start introducing this product. And as it gains traction, we can branch out and go for more commercial markets as things go on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael.
Okay, so if Ken and Heidi want to come up. Our next pitch is coming from Front Range Community College, and they're going to be talking about a different sector related to our climate action goals, which is energy, specifically electric vehicles, solar, and workforce.
Hi, my name is Ken Floyd. I am director and faculty at Front Range Community College in the Manufacturing and Energy Technology program. And Front Range Community College is very excited to present our solar learning project for your consideration. To begin, we've considered triple bottom line benefits, including social, economic, and environmental. In terms of the primary economic benefit, this is primarily a learning project for our students. And so we are going to need some serious workforce development if we're going to reach our goals of reducing emissions to zero in carbon emissions by 2050. And this is aimed at creating the workforce that can help create that situation. Socially, we will engage the community in a demonstration project that will be very visible and encourage behavioral change because of its location and its exposure. Also, we want to increase the presence of women in STEM fields. Environmentally, our impact will be about 18 tons of CO2 saved annually. And then the seed effect of education as our graduates go out into the communities and become advocates for sustainable technologies. And we also will be able to promote the city's climate action plan in a very visible way. So the market demand, we noticed that there's a big spot here in Fort Collins, the southwest part of the city, where there are no EV chargers right now. And that's basically south of Drake Road and west of College. And so we thought our students can tackle that problem as a student learning project. And that's where the students do most of the planning, the work, and the execution of the project, including the design, procurement, installation, and maintenance of the project. So we're going to solve three problems, or attack three problems, I should say. The first one is the main barrier to adoption of EV technology is range anxiety. So we want to address that in conjunction with our partners at the Harmony Library. The Harmony Library has 350 logged visits every year. It's a very busy place, so it's a very high visible place in our community, and so a great place to put a demonstration project. So our solution we call Driving on Sunshine. Our students are going to install a new solar array in conjunction with an EV charger, and that will save 12 tons of carbon dioxide emissions per year. But the main benefit is still, the seed of it is educational. So it has this practical result, but it's also primarily an educational project. Problem number two is that we have limited training opportunities in this region for our needed clean energy workforce. Here currently is the training facility that we have at Front Range. That's an existing solar array that the students train on this mocked up roof here. We have an additional whole array of solar panels just collecting dust and storage underneath that roof. And if we could find a way to mount that and use it, then we would have the ability to double our training facility. So what we need here is just the pole mount, the microinverters, and what we call balance of system that goes into that. and then we will double our training capacity. Now, we'll get an additional 6 tons of CO2 saved in emissions out of this project because all these arrays will be grid tied and they'll feed back energy back into the Fort Collins grid. Problem 3 is a lack of women in STEM fields, and so to address that problem, we've partnered with Heidi Olinger, and her organization is called Pretty Brainy, and she has recently been honored as the Colorado Woman Influencer of the Year for 2017. So how about that? Heidi, tell us about it.
Thank you. The presence of women in the energy field is one of top 2 reasons why more consumers are choosing renewables. Women make up 22% of the utilities sector, yet Larimer County lags behind the nation and neighboring counties. We have a solution and it's future ready. We will create and deliver 3 solar learning workshops for the students in middle and high school in Poudre School District. One of those workshops will be devoted to girls who learn best in all-female environments. Young people will gain science that is alive because it will be hands-on with a solar learning laboratory. We have 3 goals. 1, appeal to the value young people place on doing good for others. 2, inspire our young innovators and leaders. And 3, create real opportunity for girls to study energy. This project embraces social equity, a community-scale approach, and a multiplier effect. It unifies the college with our young minds and the hundreds of thousands of library patrons at Harmony Library.
So we're asking for $45,000 or $65,000 for our project. And are there any questions at this time?
Judges, do we have any questions for these presenters? Give you guys a minute. Okay, Kurt, thank you.
So I just want a clarification. The 65,000, that would be enough to cover the PV panels for the new EV station, as well as the pole-mounted panels to get to your 18-ton reduction.
Correct.
Great. Hunter, next question.
I would really like to hear about what other resources or collaborations that you guys are going to leverage to make this work. I'm also curious if you've already allocated the location and have that secured with the Harmony Library.
Yes, we have. They're here tonight to cheer us on. So we have, one of the main things we can bring is we can bring cheap student labor, which we call, some of you have been there, right? So, which we call active learning projects, all right? So they will work on the project and also be gaining, academic credit towards their graduation. That's one important benefit that we bring. We also have those existing $2,000 worth of panels that we have no place to mount right now. And the other thing is that Mike over at Collins Electric and Controls has generously donated 40 hours to the project of supervision, so very helpful.
I'd like to add too that we already have the buy-in from high schools and middle schools in Poudre School District. Fossil Ridge has signed on, as well as the leadership of Poudre High School. And there are bodies of students in high school and middle school who are talking about and excited about this learning opportunity already. They will be the future students then of Front Range.
All right, judges, we'll give you an additional moment to process any additional questions. John?
So roughly speaking, how many students would be involved in total, say, on a yearly basis?
Well, we have about 12 to 16 students in the program at any one time. And so those would be the students that would be specifically performing the design and the work.
When it comes to the middle and high school students, literally we have hundreds of students who, through clubs and additional extracurricular activities now, have committed to wanting to do this. So it's a matter of how many opportunities can we create for them to fulfill the demand.
All right. Well, I think our judges have got all their questions answered. So thank you so much, Front Range.
I'll invite our last
Can I-
group to come forward. And while they do, one more round of applause for Ken and Heidi. Our last group is Springback, Colorado, and they're going to be talking about waste again. And this is actually a really good triple bottom line approach to mattress recycling. So this will be interesting. Take it away.
Hello, good evening. My name is Christopher Conway, and I'm the president of Springback, Colorado Mattress Recycling. We are a nonprofit mattress recycling company that operates under the triple bottom line of people, planet, and purpose. Springback, Colorado diverts and recycles mattresses and box springs that would otherwise end up in the landfill. We are able to recycle 93% of a mattress, 100% of a box spring. Springback, Colorado has been in business since August of 2012. Between the years of 2012 and 2016, we have recycled approximately 115,000 mattress and box springs. And we have kept over 7 million pounds of post-consumer waste out of our local landfills. After creating a sustainable and scalable model in the Denver market, I began to consider additional markets that could benefit from our recycling model and felt that with nearly 250,000 households and very few mattress recycling options, Northern Colorado was a great opportunity for expansion. We opened Springback North in August of 2016. We began the Northern Colorado operation with 3 men and recycled approximately 350 mattresses in our first month. Today, we have a 5-man crew and are recycling approximately 1,200 mattress and box springs each month, and we are growing. Springback North will assist the City of Fort Collins in its efforts to meet its zero waste plan. In the 2016 waste composition study, the second largest category of material going into the landfill was other. This category includes mattresses, although they are not broken out specifically, and we feel our recycling program has the ability to significantly reduce the quantity of mattresses going into our local landfills. Springback North's operation will also positively impact the goals set forth in the Climate Action Plan. Using the EPA WARM model, the metrics show that each mattress set that is recycled reduces the CO2e emissions by 144 pounds. Through recycling partnerships with Denver Mattress Firm, UNC, and support from the general public, we plan to double our mattress recycling capacity, which would further reduce the CO2e emissions by 52 tons a month. Our business model meets many of the metrics set forth in the Economic Health Plan. Utilizing the $75,000 requested from the Innovate Fort Collins Challenge, we will be able to employ an additional 3 to 4 disenfranchised men in transition by the end of 2018. Through our unique service delivery model, we are able to employ men that have been formerly incarcerated or have gone through the drug and alcohol recovery programs to create a system of success leading to personal growth, stability, and potential financial independence. I'd like to take a moment to share one of our success stories. I met Roberto in our Denver facility when he was seeking a new beginning after graduating from a drug and alcohol recovery program. Roberto indicated to me that he was intentional about changing his life's trajectory and just needed an opportunity to implement his new value system to become a man of integrity. That was 3 years ago. Today, I am proud to say that he has been reunited with his 3 children. He's a dedicated Christian. He has a driver's license, his own transportation. Today, Roberto is a man of high integrity and also my operations manager for Springback North. The Innovate Fort Collins Challenge Award would be used to support this underserved population through redemptive employment, to provide a living wage, to provide rent subsidies, while also helping to cover the cost of employee training, provide access to transportation, and other wellness support programs. There is little risk to the city of Fort Collins since our organization has already been successful in the Denver market for 5 years, while our Fort Collins facility will be celebrating its 1-year anniversary this month. Springback North is intentional about serving Fort Collins and all of northern Colorado so that each community can benefit from reduced greenhouse gas emissions, reduced post-consumer waste going into our landfills, while providing full-time positions for those who face barriers for gainful employment opportunities. Thank you for the opportunity to share our story tonight, and I hope each of you will help support our mission, vision, and values through proper recycling. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much. Looks like Hunter's got our first question.
Of course.
I wish I had known about this about 6 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
I had a couple of mattresses for you. I have 2 quick questions. The first one is, you mentioned that you were a nonprofit. Is that a 501c3?
Yes, it is.
And do you charge to pick up mattresses?
We were $15 a piece, either delivered to our facility or picked up at your home. And if we come to your home, it's an additional $25 for the first 20 miles.
Excellent. And then one last question, and that
Sure.
was that $75,000, you know, you had a couple different ways that you were going to spend that, but is that for a year? How long would that money
I think that would be a propellant that would be a one-time ask that would really keep us sustainable, that would allow me to give some of my guys the assistance. My goal is to have these men living independent. You know, so many of them live with their families. So many of them have burned bridges in their past. They've lived in homeless shelters. My goal is for each one of these guys to have their pride and their value system back in place.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Judges, Kurt, thank you. Help the rest of us manage our eyes.
You have a tough challenge because you're the only one talking about recycling non-organic material. Can you give me an idea of the kind of things that these mattresses can be recycled into?
Absolutely. Our cotton goes to Chandler, Arizona, and is commingled with denim blue jeans to become a cellulose insulation for residential applications. Our mattress foam and mattress ticking are sent to Commerce, Texas, where they are commingled and innovated into carpet pad. Our steel is melted down and repurposed. Our wood is mulched and given back to the public. So there's only 7% of the byproducts that we're currently unable to recycle, but we're working on that.
John?
Pardon me if you said this already, but
Certainly.
your Denver facility is self-sustaining right now?
We're doing 5,000 mattresses a month in Denver, and we are profitable. Fort Collins became self-sustaining 7 months in. The beauty of my model is that I have Denver Mattress and a mattress firm. They have northern, central, and southern locations, and they're all end feeders into our program. And we're getting ready to open a Colorado Springs operation within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So by simply diverting 2 trailers a week, I'm sustainable in 7 to 8 months. Yeah.
Hello. Sorry, are we out of time? No? Okay, sorry. So you said that these mattresses, they have to travel to other regions, correct? They're not recycled in Fort Collins.
Correct.
Is there any way that you could perhaps get a local facility to do some of the recycling in, just because I know there's so much CO2 emissions from transporting?
That's such a great question, and that's absolutely my objective. We're 5 years into this adventure, and what I find is that I'm relying on the carpet industry. In my mind, the carpet industry is a dying textile. It's been replaced by Formica on your floor, if you will. What I want to do is try and serve the mattress industry. That's an exploding industry. And there's ways through funding like this that I think I'll be able to innovate certain applications where, for instance, if we could chunk up our own foam and our mattress ticking, commingle those into a machine that would produce a mattress. I'd love it to be self-sustaining. The secondary textile markets are one of my biggest concerns currently. I hate being reliant on other outside resources, and you're right, traveling outside of the state is a big challenge for us. So the more we can do through CSU or Innovate Fort Collins challenges, I think the better we can build a model that we can take anywhere within the United States and not be dependent on shipping lanes, transportation lanes, or outside resources. Thanks for being nice to me on your questions. I was really worried. You guys are
Well,
tough.
now, wait a minute. That sounded like a challenge, because we do have time for one more question.
It's the Innovate Challenge, not the Christopher Challenge.
Judges, any more questions for this presenter? Yeah, one more question.
Hi, thank
Hi,
you. And
certainly.
you're doing a great job. So
Oh,
don't
that's
worry.
kind. Thank you.
You mentioned 54 tons. Is that on an annual basis, or what measure is that?
That would be a monthly basis. If we double our existing capacity to 2,500 mattresses processed a month, and again, that's only in northern Colorado. We've already doubled that, so we're probably about 105 tons each month in Denver. So between our two collaborative processing facilities, we're at about 6,300 mattresses recycled each month.
Well, it sounds like we have one quick question, too.
Sure.
It should be simple. What's the average lifespan of a mattress? How often do Americans turn over their mattresses?
If you're a hotel, that's what you buy as a good night's sleep. So they can recycle those anywhere from 18 months to 4 years. The general populace, 7 to 10 years, depending on comfort and purchase price, I think, stability of mattress.
Well, thank you very much. That is the end of your questions.
What did you think about all those pitches? I was sitting there looking back at the crowd, and I said, you know you're at a good performance in the Lincoln Center when the crowd size doesn't change after intermission. So thanks for coming back to hear the last 3 pitches of the night. I wanted to give another huge round of applause for our judges, too. As I was thinking about the Audience Choice Award, I thought what a hard job the judges have evaluating all of these wonderful ideas that we've heard tonight, and just such great questions. I just felt so proud of our community, the incredible ideas, the supportive and probing questions from our judges, and just all of you being here. That's really what Innovate Fort Collins Challenge is all about. I think the judges are going to be leaving us soon to deliberate, and as they prepare to go into their secret place to kind of start evaluating and getting ready to give us their scores, I also wanted to recognize Jim Brown, if he could stand up. Where's Jim? Jim is, yeah, let's go. So one of the things I think is important to know is the community's been so involved in working towards our climate action goals from the beginning. It's been from the community, and Jim is one of our incredible volunteers on the Road to Zero Waste team for climate action. And when we were looking for volunteers for this event, Jim just stood up, rose his hand, and has been instrumental in supporting the judges and also supporting all of our wonderful pitch folks tonight. And so I just really want to thank Jim for being such an incredible servant to our community as well. And with that, I think our judges are going to be following Jim out to the cone of silence, of where they're going to be talking about all of the wonderful ideas they heard. So, so while they're transitioning out, I think our city team, we're going to be passing out some clickers, and Jeff's going to lead us through the exciting part of the night where you're going to help us see who our Audience Choice Award is.
Okay, guys, this is really, really simple, but I want to stress to you, we're only voting for one thing, and that's for who you think did the best job presenting tonight. So you only get one vote. You don't get to vote 2 or 3 times. We did them in order of a presentation. So if you think that the best presentation tonight was Transition Fort Collins, that's A on your clicker. If you think it was the Poudre School District, that's B. CSU was C. Insecticycle, D. Front Range Community College, E. And our final presenter, Springback, Colorado, is F. Cast your votes now.
We should have music.
Yeah.
So,
No clapping, no clapping for the singing? No? No? Okay, thank you.
we tried to harmonize.
Or boo.
That may have brought down both of our points. Did everybody vote? Want to make sure? Okay, so we're going to be tallying up your votes. But while we're waiting for the big reveal of the Audience Choice Award, we have a couple more expressions of gratitude that we want to extend. Again, just really want to thank our city leaders, our city council for providing this funding opportunity to our community. I want to thank the Lincoln Center for hosting. Just the staff here is amazing at helping us get set up in this beautiful venue. And can I have the city staff team stand up who's been involved? We've had a lot of staff from the city involved in this process, from planning and helping to judge and putting together this event. So anybody who's on the Innovate Fort Collins team, can you stand up? Thank you. And I want to give a really special thanks, if she can give a wave, to Katie Bigner. She has been our lead and manager. Bearer of the envelope. But Katie has just been such an incredible leader. Her experience with Lose-A-Watt, if you're familiar with that, with Fort Zed, I think just positioned her so well to lead this. Katie has just always been such a huge champion and supporter of innovation in our community, and so just a huge thanks to Katie for all your leadership. Is this the right envelope? Yes.
Drum rolls out there or something? So before I do that, do you want to hear more about City as a Platform? No? No? Innovate Fort Collins? Just read it, right? The winner tonight, and by the way, 2 people tied for second place, but the winner is Colorado State University.
Maybe they can come up and we can present their...
Come on up,
Do you want to come up? We have a really innovative certificate, plus your 5 bonus points towards the final judging.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I wanted to let you know, to find out who the winners are, because we're not announcing the overall winners, make sure you, of course, we'll do a press release, but you can also go to our website. They're going to be posted August 18th, and it's scgov.com/innovate.
So really quickly, guys, don't forget that we're planning to do this again next year. So really, it's not too early to start thinking about what you could submit for next year. So in a second, we're going to ask our city manager to come up and close for us, but we forgot to vote for one more thing, because we promised this. So we had co-hosts here. And by way of applause, who was the better host? Was it Jackie? Or was it me? Yeah. I don't know.
Might have been a tie.
Okay.
Might have been a tie.
She always wins, so let's just be honest. And now everybody, I'd like to introduce Darren Atterbury, our city manager.
Well, I wasn't expecting to speak, so thank you guys very much. You know what a fun night, and thank you all for being here. I just want to say how much we all appreciate on behalf of the mayor and council members who are here, and Jeff and Jackie and staff members. It takes a lot to pull this kind of thing off, and I just thank you so much for just building on the DNA of this community around innovation and around great partnerships and collaboration. So that's all I have to say. Hope you have a great night. Be safe, and thank you for joining us. And thanks to all the staff team and the group of advisors to us and all the folks who've helped make this happen. So we appreciate you very much. So have a great night, and thank you for joining us.